Hello, it's Laura Davallo here with another interactive card tutorial for my favorite things. This time I made an extra large slimline card with 3 rotating elements. When we move the pull tab back and forth, some of the characters from the Birdie Brown festive old friends start dancing. Everyone is having a great time, even the birthday boy who is taking a short nap. To create this card, I had to separate the moving parts from the rest, and I did it by stamping the images twice on Copic-friendly paper. I slightly modified the sleeves of the vest, I made the cane sturdier and the skirt a lot wider so that it could swing without looking strange. To finish the prep work, I fussy cut the elements and colored them with my Copic markers. Okay, here I'm planning the placement of each of the elements on one of my 3 3/4 by 8 3/4 sized panels of Caribbean Sea Prestige cardstock. I made this card small enough so that it would fit inside one of the MFT slimline envelopes, which measure 4 1/8 by 9.5. I'm temporarily adhering the pull tab with pieces of tape to what will be my secondary or mechanism panel. And next I'm using a white gel pen to mark the spots where I'm going to link my rotating brads. This is not an exact science, I'm just making sure that everything fits and sort of deciding what type of linkages to use depending on the available space. For example, here's a good place for an elbow joint for the nodding head. These linkages are from the Meet in the Middle interactive dynamics. I've stacked 2 layers of each to make them sturdy. If you choose to make your own version with smaller stamps and an A2 sized panel, I'm sure it'll be easier to make everything fit. Lastly, we need to mark the center for these funny looking arms. And there we go. While we're at it, let's make sure that the pull tab is perfectly straight, either with a T ruler or with set squares. These are from my high school days. Okay, it looks good, so now I can trace around it. I'm also going to write the words dancing lady, head, and arms so that I won't get confused later on. Next, I'm using this tool to pierce the panel. We don't need the holes to be very large since we're using mini brads, so don't overdo it. For the moving elements that are closest to the pull tab, I'm going to use these longer bars from the Twist and Turn Interactive Dynamics, one of my favorite interactive die sets. I'm linking these to the panel with brads, and now I just need to punch a hole in the pull tab as well for the elbow joint that I showed you earlier. But before I peel off the tape, let me just add a collar piece to hold the pull tab in place. This one is included in the Meet in the Middle set, but it's really easy to create with a strip of paper that you wrap snugly around the pull tab. Later I will add a second one higher up. The pull tab is not going to move very far, but just in case I'm trimming the bars a little bit, about a 1/4 inch. I skipped ahead just a little bit and linked the elbow joint to the pull tab with another mini brad off camera. Now I'm adhering little strips of paper to the pull tab so that the longer horizontal bars can move with it. I used the channel die which is included in the Slimline Starter Dynamics for this, but you can just cut a 1/4 inch wide strip with your paper trimmer if you don't have it. I made the strips about 1 inch long and I'm adhering the ends with small pieces of score tape. If you can read my notes, the elbow joint rotates about 45 degrees while the other 2 elements only rotate about 15 degrees. We're almost done with this. Let's see if everything is working, and yes, it looks good. Before moving on, I'm going to draw another mark in the upper edge so that I know where to add the phone tape. There we go. Okay, now we need to temporarily adhere the 2 panels together with some tape so that we can find out where we're going to die cut the 3 holes to reveal our rotating brads. By gently pressing my finger on them, I'm able to leave a little dent in the paper, and then I can use my gel pen to make it more noticeable. After repeating this with the other two rotating brads, we can use a piercing tool or a long reach punch to make small holes. Off camera, I glued two pieces of paper from the wallpaper patterns pad to the panel, and here I'm remaking the holes which are still visible on the back of it. Now we need to create openings that are small enough so that they won't show under our dancing seniors, but large enough so that we can adhere foam tape around the rotating brads without interfering with the mechanism. The half-an-inch circle die, which is included in 3 of our interactive die sets, was slightly too big and the head of the nodding man would not cover it completely, so I'm choosing this 3/8 of an inch circle die from the interactive swing dynamics. We don't have the same problem with the skirt, so the half-inch circle is perfect for that hole. But we're going to need the smaller circle again for our third hole, so I'm going to have to run my panel through the die cutting machine twice. After we're done with the die cutting, if we line up the two panels, we should be able to see our 3 rotating brads perfectly centered in the holes. Before continuing, let's add another improvised color right between the 2 vertical strips of paper. As you can see, it's not interfering with the rotating elements and the pull tab is moving more smoothly. I've edited out the part where I added 2 layers of foam tape. Just be careful and don't put it where it could interfere with the moving elements. I always find it easier to adhere 2 same-sized panels together if I prop them up on the table. Okay, there we go. Now we can use scissors to trim the edge of the lower panel so that you can't see it when you look at the card from the side. It doesn't have to be perfect, just be careful not to ruin your main panel. Here I'm adding the last strips of score tape to the back of the panel so that I can adhere it to my 8x9 inch card base of smooth white cardstock scored at 4. We could use the 3/8 of an inch donut pieces included in the meet in the middle dynamics to adhere our elements to the rotating brads, but I was feeling lazy, so I just made my own with thick foam dots and a 3/16 of an inch hole punch. If you don't have anything like this, you could use small slivers of foam tape and adhere them around the brad. Moving on to the lady in pink. First, I'll glue the legs to the panel with some liquid adhesive, and then I'll adhere the rest of her body to the foam dot. There we go. The movement isn't perfect since she doesn't stand up straight again, but it's good enough for me. Finally, it's time to adhere the head and body of our last moving character before I finish decorating the card. I made it stand out more by adding a piece of foam dot to the donut piece. And here are a couple of pictures of the finished card. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the description box for all of the necessary info, and if you have any questions, just leave a comment. Bye bye, hasta la próxima.